Hello, everyone. I'm Victor Wooten. I'm happy to be here at Sweetwater, representing Hartke, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about music. Thanks for listening. I want to thank Hartke as well as Sweetwater for giving us this time together. I'm going to talk a little bit first about what I just did. I won't say that it was the most incredible piece of music ever written. It's not even the best I've ever played. But what it was free. It was freedom. I just started playing. I didn't plan anything from beginning to end. It was pure freedom. In other words, most of us are afraid to play like that, right? Because we're judging it, we're prejudging it, we're afraid that we're going to mess up. And for me, when I play, I already know I'm going to mess up. That's a part of who I am. It's a part of life. I make mistakes, but that's how I grow. So every time I play, every time I practice, I make sure that I maintain my musical freedom. So let's think about it this way. If we were to meet each other and sit down and have a conversation together at the coffee table or wherever, meeting at a show, we would not have to pre-plan our conversation. I wouldn't have to call you up and say, hey, man, I learned these new words. So when we get together, make sure you say this to me so I can use my new words. Or, hey, who's going to start talking first today? What are we going to talk about? We never pre-plan it. But guess what? It works every time. Every time you get together with your friends, without planning, you have a wonderful conversation. It works every time, not some of the times, every time. Yes, there are some conversations that are better than others, but they're all free, meaning freedom, and they work. So why can't we do the same thing with our instrument? The answer is that you can, we just don't. And I want to make sure that every time I play, I have the same freedom that I have every time I talk. And all you have to do is start doing it. Now, I just happened to use a looping pedal, so I had something to bounce off of. And it actually got more fun when it bounced off of it differently than I expected. Because for me, when everything goes exactly right, it's a little bit boring. If you imagine living your life and everything went right, you'd think you'd like it, but you'd be bored. Because life is fascinating when we dare to be courageous, when things go wrong, but we're still here to talk about it. I like to say, no one talks about the time that we drove through the Arizona desert for 8 hours and we didn't run out of gas. Nobody talks about that. We talk about the times that we almost died, we almost crashed, and we almost ran out of gas, but we made it. That's what fuels us. So I treat music the same way. I'm not afraid of messing up because I know that every time I make a mistake, if I treat it correctly, I will be better after that. I will grow, right? We learn to walk because we fall. We fell many times, and now it's difficult to fall, right? So I'm not afraid of it. So what I urge you to do, I'm not even going to tell you how to do it, is just to remember like a child how to be free, how to play freely. You can take your instrument and hit a note. And what does that note, really listen to it, what does that note tell me? I might hear a tenth on the top. But now what do I hear? Right? Freedom doesn't have to be good. I'm not trying to be good. I'm trying to be free. When you do it enough, it gets better. And even on your worst day, it'll be good enough. So in many cases, we're trying to be so right that we're not embracing our mistakes, and it's the mistakes that make us better. But because we're trying to avoid them and not embracing them, we're not growing as fast as we can. Think about driving, right? If you want to learn directions, get lost. Go places you haven't made. If you usually take a right turn, take a left today. See where it takes you. You will learn more that way. So if you notice, if you've ever followed any of my career, I take a lot of left turns where I was usually taking a right because I love the exploration, right? And I'm free. Am I the best? No. Who can say that? But am I free? Maybe even freer than most? That's possible. But you can be this free today. And the more you do it, the better it'll get. So I urge you to just play and see what happens. But when you play, make sure that you listen, okay? Make sure you listen. So taking it from the bottom end, the bass player's standpoint, here's some things that we can work on that's very, very simple with music. So let's say we have a piano player or a guitar player playing. I'm going to loop that. So I'm the bass player on this. So you'll notice that if we keep doing this, it will get boring rather quickly. So yes, we can put a melody on top of it, add chord changes, but what if there aren't chord changes? From the bottom end, the bass player, or really anyone in the group, but I'm gonna look at it from the bass end, and if you play piano or guitar, you can figure out how to do this from your end also. But I need to add a dynamic to this, and I don't mean loud or soft. What I mean is I need to add a change. If we just stay in this area, as good as it might be, if we only stay there, it won't remain as good. We need variety. So I'm in the key of C major. So ask yourself, answer this question in your head. How many notes are there diatonically in the key of C major? Don't think too hard. It's a simple answer. It's the same as what any key. They all have the same amount of notes, and that's 7. C major, we know that there's a C, a D, a E, a F, and a G, an A, and a B. If we know that, how come I'm not using them? I'm only thinking C. C. But if all the notes are really in the key, why not use them? E, F, G, back to C. And all of a sudden I realized, wow, now this song is getting interesting. Let's go down to A. Nice. F. Woo, I like the F. D. That's the 2 of the chord. Now to the 5. The 5 tells you where we're headed. Right? So that's just to say that if you know that all of these notes are in the key, don't be afraid to use them. And I'm using a looping pedal here that will not change. So that lets you know that even if the keyboard player or the guitar player doesn't change, it's still going to work. All right? So now you have to do it musically, okay? You got to use all of your musical senses to really make it work. But if you know the notes that are in the key, don't be afraid to use all of them. If you're used to going to the 2, try going to the 6 and see what happens. Again, like I said before, sometimes when you're used to making a right, make a left, just to see what happens. And if the band leader looks at you with that wrinkle in the forehead, then don't do it again. But if you do it musically, they'll look at you with raised eyebrows like, whoa, nice, nice. So let's say that there's a melodic player that is soloing or playing a melody and they're running out of ideas. So they're playing. Right? And you can tell that they're running out of ideas. But what you can do to help them is to give them a different canvas to paint over, meaning change the bottom layer of the music. So if it's normally C, that line will always sound the same that they're playing if I keep the same bass note. But I can help this person by changing the bottom note. And I'm just going to go to a different place that's in the key. Doesn't it sound like they're changing? When I go to the 5 chord, when I come back home, it feels wonderful. Make sense? Really easy. None of this is difficult, right? So these are things that you can work into your playing right away, right? Of course, you want to practice them, but they will work the first time. When you practice them and get better, they'll work even better. So I just used the notes that are in the key, right? And there's always 7. But there's 5 notes that aren't in the key. And those 5 notes that aren't in the key will make the 7 notes that are in the key sound better. Okay, let me say that again, just so you make sure you get that. We have 12 notes total. 7 of the notes are in the key. That means there are 5 that aren't in the key. The 5 that aren't in the key make the 7 that are in the key sound better. So if I only play the right notes, it'll sound good. But if I play the wrong notes also and lead into the right notes, they'll sound better. So let me give you an example. Start over here. Here's G minor. So I'm really here. So now I'm in G minor. If I know what notes are in G minor, G, A, B flat, and if it's a funky minor, it's probably going to be Dorian, which means we're going to raise the 6th note, right? So instead of that E flat, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E natural, and then F and G, right? That's going to make it funky. Just raising the 6, making it Dorian, makes people want to dance, right? So we know that I can use those notes. So I can play the bass line here. 4, minor 6. That's the minor 6 to the 5. Walk down. So that's using the notes that are in the key. But watch what happens when I use all 12 of the notes. Listen, I'm going to work myself into it. Groove. I'm going to go to 4. Two, 5, back to the 1. If you notice, the guitar player is not changing, but all the notes still work because I'm in the key. 4, minor 6, to the 5. Now watch this. Here's a chromatic scale. Half step. Ooh. Listen. Flat 5, listen to this. Here's a weird one. That was all the notes, all 12. And you notice they all work. All 12 notes work, not just 7. If you do it right, you'll notice when people go, ooh, yeah, ooh. That's because you're hitting a wrong note. So you're adding dynamics. And I don't mean loud and soft. I mean contrast. You're adding and changing the feel, changing the intensity. In music, whatever is good about it, if it stays good, it becomes less good. Whatever's good about the song, if it just stays good, it loses its power. So if we love this key, this is G minor, but if we stay here, it's going to get boring. I got to change something. It's those changes that make you stay interested. So now if my bass line is rhythmic, I might do change. Now I'm changing rhythm, more space. That will re-interest you into my song. Then for fun, chromatic. Ooh, I love that note. Flat 5, back to the up to the 5. So when I come back home to my regular bass part, sounds good again. So if you think about it like you live at home, it doesn't matter what kind of home you live in, you get tired of it. You need to take a vacation, right? Doesn't mean that the vacation has to be long. You can go away for a weekend, but when you come back home, it's like, wow, my own bed. This feels good again. Music is the same way. That's why the song gets away from the verse. It gets away from the chorus. We add a bridge just to take a vacation so that when we come back to the chorus, it feels and sounds new again. Whatever instrument you play, you can bring in that dynamic, that new change, that vacation that the song needs. And sometimes the best way to do it is by adding space. Just lay out for a minute. And that space will invite the listener in. They will fill the space by inserting their energy. They will listen more when you say less. Yeah? So these are just a few things that you can do with music. To recap, practice being free. Yeah, you want to know how to read. You want to know how to repeat bass lines. That'll keep people dancing. All of that stuff. But you want to maintain your freedom. So when you practice, play anything. Be free, the same way we talk. We have freedom. And if you have a band, just create. Somebody start talking like a conversation. Somebody just say something and everybody respond and create on the spot. Don't judge it, right? If you try to create something good, you'll be judging it and you'll probably stop. But do it anyway, because the thing there is you're getting better every time you do it. And after a while, like walking, it'll become hard to fall. Okay? Maintain that freedom. When you know what key you're in, learn how to use every note. At first, you may want to do this on your own. You can use a looping pedal or you can practice with records or whatever you want. But learn what all the 7 diatonic notes, meaning the 7 notes that are in the key, and then use them all, right? If I'm in the key of G, I treat G as the bass note. But all of a sudden, I might treat an E as the bass note for a while and create my bass line off of E. I'm still in the same key. I'm just using notes that are in that key. Have fun with that. Explore and really listen and be musical. But then I'll go further. I'll use all the 12 tones. I'll use chromatic scale. And if you really want to sound jazzy, the chromatic scale is the way to do it. The chromatic scale is a good start by just using all the notes, because 7 of the notes out of the 12, 7 of them will always be right. And even if you hit a note that's not in the key, you're only there for a second because the notes on either side are in the key again. So don't be afraid. It's just music. This is meant to have fun. You understand? It's meant to have fun. Music is not notes, scales. Music is not even an instrument. Music is expression. Music is life. Music is how we connect. Music makes people happy and smile. That's what music really is. So when I play, that's what I think about. I think about making people smile, connecting with people. I don't want to think about this no more than I want to think about my mouth when I talk. My mouth is the instrument, but I don't say, hey, I speak mouth. That doesn't make sense, does it? Then why does it make sense to say I play bass? I should be playing music. I hope that makes some sense to you. Most of all, go and have fun. Explore this thing we call music. Make friends with music. All right? I hope you enjoyed yourselves today. I sure did. Thanks a lot. Thanks to Sweetwater. Thanks to Hartke for letting me be here and spend some time with you. And most of all, thank you for listening. Be musical, my friends.